coming at the backdrop of the doctor strike that has entered day 20 and the clinical officer strike that is now on its third day. What does this mean for the country? The government has just released, given a press release trying to look at some of the issues that the doctors had raised and somehow giving solutions to that. Joining me for this conversation, I have Winnie here from Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, who is the gender representative, Nairobi branch. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Brian.
Let me get your second name. Don't want to miss that. And also joining me tonight for this particular conversation, I do have Dr. Kahura Mundia, who is the Deputy Chairperson, KMPDU. Thank you so much for making time for this conversation. And it's not the first time that you're here. And Winnie here is Winnie Wagura Kamau, right? I got that right, isn't it?
Yes, you got that right.
Yeah, I need to get people's names right. I don't want to miss. All right, this is the current state of affairs in the country. We have doctors that are on strike. It is the 20th day ever since the strike began. We have clinical officers that are on strike, and this is the third day since the strike began. Totally rendering services at the hospitals, you know, it's in limbo. People are going to hospitals, they cannot get the services that they need. Let me start from where you sit first on this particular issue. What is your take on the current state of healthcare services in the country before we get to the reason as to why you are striking?
Yes, I think the main issue has always been in terms of access to healthcare for Kenyans. We've always made sure that we offer our best services to Kenyans. But even as we offer the best services, as clinical officers, we do not get the remuneration, the benefits that come with that. We have clinical officers who have specialized, taken time to go back to school, specialized in different fields. Yet when they come back to their places of work, they have not been promoted, they've not been redesignated. That means that we have clinical officers who are earning the same amount of money for years, for even more than 10 years in some counties.
Okay, let me ask you this, because the doctors are on strike. Why was it important for the clinical officers to go on strike at this particular moment?
We have been negotiating our CBA since 2017. The government has not been responsive towards that. We also have interns who have been posted just the other day after we have served our notice, so they're picking up their letters, but with a reduction in their pay. So they're getting a pay cut from what the others have been paid. So I think it's a knee-jerk reflex, because if we've been talking with them for all these years, since 2017, and they've not been able to come to the table and sign our collective bargaining agreement, then that is not in the goodwill that we hoped. We also have issues that come with our schemes of service that we have sat down, we have come up with career progression, but the same has not been replicated. We don't have one that is ratified.
Okay, so some of the issues you're raising, just in line to what the doctors are actually raising, and this is day 20, Dr. Mundia, day 20 of the strike already, and you've tried to have conversations with the government, but every time you go for this conversation, there's a conversation that went late night. We are hoping that we'll see light at the end of the tunnel. We didn't get to see that. Let me get it from you. 20th day, to what end are we going to say this? Because there's a release that has been, a press release that has been given, but I was speaking to the Deputy SG of KMPDU, and they say, okay, this was not in consultation with what we actually wanted, and we feel like we're being taken for a ride. So to what end?
Well, thank you very much. Today is a sad day, I would say so, as KMPDU and as all health workers in the country. It's a very sad day that the head of public service can serve doctors on social media on things that they themselves have met. Because the last time, as we know, they walked out of our meeting, fully convened. But before even went 10 minutes into the meeting, they left. And today they make a proposal, or probably a position that we have agreed, and they are choosing which parts of the CBA they are going to abide by. Now in Kenya, persons need to go to school. We have government officials who don't know anything about labor. People need to attend school of labor to understand what matters of labor and how important they are. Reason being, to have a collective bargaining agreement, it's like the most supreme contract you'll ever want to have with an employer. The previous governments did that negotiation in good faith. And now remember we are paying Eurobonds. Eurobonds taken by the previous governments. Now, these CBAs have been inherited by this current government. The government says they will pay the arrears of the CBA, but they will not abide by the terms of the clauses to continuously promote and engage intern doctors. We call them intern doctors. Now, it's a stab on the face because in the TV in the last 3 weeks, we had the head of public service openly talking that they understood now what the term medical interns meant. But today, just to spite us because it's the persons we're dealing with are full of contempt, they've now addressed these persons as doctors. A medical doctor who's just finishes school with 2 degrees, a degree in surgery and a degree in medicine, after 7 years. And what they're supposed to do now is to go and practice whatever they've learned under supervision. That experiential practice is what is called as internship. And we bound that in the CBA. Now, for the head of public service, with the CS Health, with all the persons advising the ministry and all the officials, they're doing a bad job to Kenyans. Okay. The government has a right to defend all rights, be it right to strike, right to labor, and right to life, and to health. All these things have to be balanced.
Let me get from your point. In terms of this particular press release, and I do believe you've taken a look at it, what is it that you feel like it's very insulting to the medical doctors who are actually on strike?
Well, let me also probably just tell you, today is World Health Workers Week. We are supposed to be celebrating workers as per the WHO between yesterday and the 7th of this month. But what the government is doing is to spite us more. The government is on strike. It is the 21st day tomorrow, 3 weeks after the strike started. And now whatever has happened with the pressure that's been served on the social media, no doctor is going to abide by those terms. The CBA is clear. All terms that they're supposed to be implemented, they're supposed to be implemented. Post doctors, we have a shortage that everyone appreciates, even the governments, but they don't want to employ doctors. UHC cannot sail without doctors. Okay. We only have 4,000 doctors in service. The 4,000 who are out there, they need to come in and serve Kenyans. And to slash their pay so that you can have the public private hospitals getting cheaper doctors, that's improper. Qualified, competent doctors, after 7 years of work, of schooling, they're supposed to be paid adequate amounts as they're supposed to. The CAS are getting 780,000 to just politic around. As many as they are, they have a driver, they have assistants, and they have all these packs on the payroll. The doctor is just asking for 206,000. That's gross. You take net, you get 140,000. That's what they're supposed to take home. That's very little money in today's economy because that money is old as 7 years ago when it was first agreed upon. Okay. It's an absurdity that you're facing today.
Let me throw something to the both of you because there's that aspect of where the government is saying, okay, some of the things that you're asking are very extreme at this particular moment and we need time to actually get to implement that. When they ask for time and you do not give them time, are you showing goodwill when it comes to dealing with the issue? Let me start with it, Winnie.
I think time is not an issue that they should be saying. As I said, our CBA has been in negotiation since 2017. Okay. So that's, I think, 14 years. So that is already enough time. In terms of our health risk allowance, it was updated in 2021 after COVID, after it was realized that we have a very, our exposure to risk is high. So since 2021, what have you done? Because a committee sat and saw it fit to add to our health risk allowance. That has not been implemented. In terms of interns, every year, the government knows that medical students will leave the schools and go for internship where they specialize, as my colleague has said. Okay. So this is something that they know. We have another crop coming up this year. So in terms of posting of interns and payment, that is something they should allocate in the budget. Okay. So it's already a known expense.
As far as that is concerned, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers did actually ask for 20,000 interns to actually be posted. Let me get to the specificity of this one. Why is this one? Does that mean we have a shortage and when we get this particular number, it's actually going to fill that or what?
No, for interns cannot fill the space of qualified. personnel, because the 1 year that you're going for internship, you're supposed to be under supervision. So you have to work with qualified personnel. So for interns, the posting is mandatory because they have to be, the 1 year is important for them so that we do not get quacks working out there. That is a risk to even the population.
So do we have, is this currently happening, or it's not happening when it comes to posting of interns, especially for clinical officers?
So for clinical officers, we have interns that have already started collecting their letters. But we have said that they have reduced pay. They have gotten a pay cut, which is not part of what was agreed when the initial agreement was brought about payment of interns. And that is one of the issues in our strike notice.
Let me get to you, Dr. Mundia, and that has just to do with the issue of, time, because the government, you say you've had the meeting, but they're still asking for some of the things that you're saying. 19 issues are not things that you're going to solve in a day, and we need time to actually get to implement this one. So as you look around doing that, could you kindly call off the strike and go back to work so that,
Well, it's strange you ask me about time. We are 60 years old as a country.
Yeah.
By the time we got the first year of independence on 1964, some of these basics should have been done. But because we're a government of experiments, we keep on experimenting with people's lives and people's health. That's why we put incompetent persons in office. Persons who don't even understand the path of training. Now, these persons cannot lead us anywhere. So everything is done by trial and error. They've had, since 2010, when the new constitution came into force. We did a CBA in 2013. They disputed it because the person who signed it was somehow, they denied him that he was in office legally. That was, I think, one of the PSs. 2017, we entered in that agreement. Now, between 2017 and today, that's 7 years. Now, how much time do you need to read a 40-page document? It's very easy, very straightforward English, plain language, but these persons just misconstrue because they're so full of malice, because they think health workers are so spoiled. They're brats who want to have the best of terms. Now, these persons, their terms of work are like that. There is no way you can serve as a doctor working 24 hours a day, and you're not even allowed leaves and breaks. And when you say, let me get a place to go and rest, you start feeling like I'm too spoiled and I want to rest when I'm working. It's improper. The time is enough. They've had all the time, but we're still here.
Let me throw this to you. The county governments, because I've seen different different governors actually saying, okay, your issues are with the national government. We have employed you. We do abide by what was agreed on. Could you kindly come back to work? So don't get to punish the counties at the county. Yet the issues that you're having are with the national government. I saw Abdul Samad actually talk of that. Governor Sakaja here in Nairobi did threaten to, fire everybody that did not report to work. What's your take on that particular? Where do we draw the line?
This is my point. Counties are beggars. Counties are agents of the government. There is devolution, yes. And there is a semblance of what they call we are independent, we can do whatever because we are ourselves. Counties don't generate enough revenue. They rely on the national government to expend monies to them. Right now, we have county governments that have not paid salaries for the last 2 to 3 months. They're still waiting for the handouts from the national government. So it's improper for them to start saying, oh, let's come and negotiate. What are you negotiating with a broke person? Persons who are reliant on the principle to send the money. So the issues are national. We're supposed to have standards that are national because a doctor at Kirinyaga, a doctor at Lamu, a doctor at Turkana has the same qualifications. They perform the same number of hours at work. So there's no way to differentiate all these people just because the signatory to that document is someone in a different county. The terms are standardized because you want that kind of harmony. And the SRC understands that language. So whatever the governors are taking, we also want to take it so that we understand it better.
Clinical officers, you issued a 7-day strike notice when the doctors were on strike. Was there any attempt from the national government to have you on a table so that we have a conversation around this to stop this from happening?
Yeah, we've had discussions. That was yesterday and today. Good discussions, but nothing was yielded from that discussion in terms of all our prerequisites for us to go back to work.
What are they suggesting when you are having these conversations?
At times, just as you said, that let's go back to work as we try and come up with mechanisms. But we say that as I said, our CBA is very old in terms of when we started this process. So we have bare minimums which are listed very clearly in our strike notice. I think there are 8 of them. So those are our bare minimums that we cannot allow ourselves to go back to work. We have clinicians who worked in Kirinyaga County and were dismissed when they went when we were on strike. The court returned them, but yet the governor was not able to honor that court order, and yet the same governor is the one telling our colleagues to go back to work.
Okay, so let me come to, because there's the issue of health workers being threatened with being sacked. Counties have actually done that. So at what expense are we doing this particular strike? Because you're fighting for better pay, we're fighting for issues that we want to address, but at the same time, people could actually get to lose their jobs. What happens in that particular instance? Let me start with you.
Well, see, the situation is you cannot have a functional healthcare system without healthcare workers.
Okay.
It's unheard of. And because the worker is telling you, do this and this for me, and you fail to listen, that means you'll be left with your facility and the worker will move with their skills. Now, in good faith negotiations, persons are supposed to stop intimidations and threats and come to the table and openly engage, freely to resolve the dispute. And after that, you do a return to work formula. Or after that, you do a CBA and agree that today, henceforth, this is how we're going to operate. So a CBA is like a guiding document to minimize disputes and grievances at the workplace. But the governors or the employers are not keen on that aspect. What they're thinking of is a pay. But this is just more than pay. The terms of work must be fair. You cannot serve without going for your annual leave. Some of these counties, like we visited one of them over the weekends, there are only 2 doctors in a facility. Now these doctors never go for leaves. They're the ones serving all the 24 hours back to back. If you have to go on leave, you leave a single person at work. And the governors, well, the particular governor in this case, they're so confident that there's a functional healthcare system in the area. So, and then they continue to further intimidate these doctors that any day that they're seen to speak with the union, they're going to be terminated. That's another violation of Article 41, of the right to engage with a union of your choice, without the fact that whether you're on contract or casualized or whatever terms you're engaging. Touts, drivers, everyone, even the police, are supposed to have their national union. Okay. It's only that in Kenya, we are not yet there. But they're still pursuing their union to create a union that protects the police. Because unions come to advance and protect the rights of workers. Now, the government is supposed to protect collective bargaining. That's the standard of International Labour Organization.
Okay.
Kenya has ratified the conventions at ILO. Today, we are defying our own constitution and defying international standards because we are feeling the current government has its own opinions. Opinions that are not schooled as per the standards that have existed since 1919. Over 100 years, the world of labor has been in existence. And the government officer who's just come into office 2 years ago, they claim now they know better. No. They have to go and revisit the books, revisit the history of what the world of labor is all about regarding collective bargaining agreements. Okay.
Now, what do we say to some of the workers that listen to the leader speak and give in terms of being intimidated? Because somebody will say, okay, the union is there to defend me, but when it comes to being fired, this, especially when you mentioned the county of Kirinyaga, we're going to come to that as to why this specific county. So is this collective? Are we seeing the paralysis of health services in every sector, or is it some of the people that believe the union is actually defending us? Are you experiencing instances where some doctors and some clinical officers are not engaging in this particular strike?
For our clinical officers, we are all on the same page. That the issues that are addressed cut across every single clinician, whether they work in private or public. Because at the end of the day, even the private hospitals will get the salary expectation from what the government pays. So as my colleague said, that we have structures in place to protect us. We are protected by the Constitution. It is our right to picket. It is your right to go on strike against an employer who does not offer favorable conditions. Because we cannot be working and yet our health is at risk. We have clinical officers who have contracted diseases because of the conditions at which they work.
So nobody actually gets to look at us as people that are in the front line when it comes to dealing with the health issues. That's what you're saying?
Yes, because how can our risk allowance be 3,000 shillings? And yet you are the first person. You go to work on one day, you're seeing a child in the morning, you didn't have a cough. In the evening, you have pneumonia. So that means that I was exposed because those are the patients that I am seeing. Or you work in an ICU setup and the employer has not taken the liberty to give you the proper preventive equipment so that you can protect yourself.
Okay. I'm running out of time and I want you to give your final remarks on this particular conversation as far as healthcare is concerned and the message from the government. Let me start with you as we wind up. What is your parting shot on this particular conversation?
I would say our doctors, we are glad that you follow the union because you believe in the union spirit. That decent and dignified work belongs to all Kenyans, not a few, not politicians. It's not that we have to suck up to politicians. Treat them like gods, while the persons who did hard work, they are not dignified in whatever they do. And we are so full of contempt of these persons. That must stop, and it stops today. Whatever statement has been served on social media, it is nonsense. Nonsense on stilts. It's just a repeat of whatever we've been doing in the last 20 days. Now, beginning tomorrow, we meet in good faith and forget all those other games that we've been playing. And persons must show up on the table and negotiate to conclude the matters. Because we want to go and serve our Kenyans. We miss our patients. But because some persons feel like we don't need to see our patients, they don't act as defenders of people's health. Kenyans voted the government to provide that health care. But now they're standing between us and the patients by trying to just annoy the workers. And that means no work will continue. Everyone has to enjoy decent and dignified work. All Kenyans. And that's the role of the government, to ensure that even the mama mboga, even the housemaids, they are having decent work. And that's why you ever see who are these persons, the guards, and they got their pay upgraded. Because for a long time, these people are being exploited. The government is supposed to be a protector and defender of these people's rights. Now today, the government is undermining every worker's rights. That's improper, that's illegal, that's unconstitutional. We are objecting to that.
So what you're saying is you're open for a conversation. Whatever has been released today, that should be actually set aside.
They just forget whatever games they're playing. God will forgive them for the 3 weeks of nonsense they've been engaging us on. We start anew on good faith, with the CBA done and more progressive gains.
Your final remarks on this one as we wind up on this conversation.
So tomorrow as clinical officers, we have a procession at 8 a.m. from Green Park. We shall serve the MOH with our demands. We shall serve the COG. We shall serve the Senate. And we shall also serve the Salaries Remuneration Commission so that they are aware of our issues. So all clinical officers, we also want to thank them that they have supported us and that as we start our strike, because tomorrow will be the mega launch for the strike.
Tomorrow is the mega launch.
Tomorrow is the mega launch.
What will it take for it to end? And I know you have quite a number of issues, but what is that one word that you'll be told and you're like, okay, let's call it off?
The bare minimums, as I said, are the 8 conditions in our strike notice. So the 8 have to be met for us to even think of going back to work.
If we say we are meeting 4 and maybe we look at the other ones.
I think with the government, they don't have so much of goodwill because at times they say the 4 and then we take another. It will be another 7 years until we're back there.
So you have to get everything that
we have to get everything that we want.
So that because we understand how it works, it might take another 14 years.
Exactly.
I don't want to be having that conversation in 10 years from now. God forbid. Thank you so much, Dr. Yuni Kamau, for your time here on the program, and Dr. Kahura Mundia, who is the Deputy Chair of the KMPDU. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate it, and I hope that next time we are having a conversation will be how to better the healthcare system in the country and not a strike, right?
That should be the focus of the government.
All right.
Not how to make it worse.
Yes.
Now they're making it worse with the pronouncements.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Brian Amwai. That does it for us. We are really out of time, and my director is in my ear telling me, by the way, you're totally overrun. All right. Thank you so much for engaging us on our socials. That is at Lookup TV on Facebook and also on YouTube. We do welcome your feedback. I would love to sample it, but I don't have the luxury to do that tonight. Good night. Let's do this again next week on Tuesday.